All right, Lions fans, let's talk Lions. It's 5:25 in the morning, and I was going over some. I don't know. I woke up and I couldn't go back to sleep, so I did my little checkup on the Lions and see, going over what I guess the past draft and the new acquisitions and this of sort. And I was looking for a particular clip. I wanted to see the arrival of Penny Sewell. I didn't want to see the clip of the drafting of him or nor the phone call. They showed the war room and how it, everybody was excited and so forth. But I wanted to see when he arrived in Allen Park, and I wanted to see how Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell embrace him, and how he embraced uh, Miss Ford Hamp and sort. I just wanted to see his. I wanted to see his presence in the midst of them, and he showed me something that is an intangible that has nothing. Is not football related. Yet and still is very football. Necessary. I want to say it's football esque, and it's a necessity, and it's particularly when they're talking about building a culture. And when Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, I think Brad Holmes said it first. Said you are the type of, when they was talking about Sewell, you are the type of guy that we envision to build this team around, not around per se around him, but in the image of his approach. And I wanted to see that when he interacted with the front office and when he arrived here, and the road to the draft, and you see hit players and they go behind it, how they basically talk up their stock and this what they're going to bring and what they're going to do, what they would like to do, and so forth. Yeah, I wanted to see the interaction between the upper management and the player per se. This the personalities to see how they clash, or forgive me, see if they would clash or see if they would actually intertwine. And I'm looking at them, and it was just like a mesh per se. So I was looking forward to see if it was a genuine picking or selections of sort from both ways, from the upper personnel, from the upper management to the personnel department. So, but anyway, and getting past that, I go to a player who I believe is the steal of the draft, and I'm as high on him as I was with Jelani Tavai. Uh, Jelani Tavai is a player like most of the Lions for the past, I want to say 3 years. The players wasn't bad at all. They were just misplaced. And I said in prior videos the reason why they were misplaced, because I don't believe Patricia was a visionary. He no, don't get me wrong. He has insight, he has IQ, but I don't believe that he's a visionary. And so that's where I believe players was placed out of place. And so he envisioned a system. And if I bring you here, I want you to play this way. But if the player tangibles or their approach is contrary to what you envision, it's going to be is going to be it's going to seem like players are bust or players are just doesn't they're just not well fit or they're just not good players, but actually it just misfit. It's just a misfit. And Jelani Tavai is a part of that, as well as the D line, etc. But anyway, there's one player that they draft, the acquisition of Derrick Barnes. His pursuit is I want to say remembrance of a player such as Derrick Brooks, Mike Singletary, Ray Lewis. his pursuit. I'm not saying his instincts. I'm not saying his overall play. I'm saying his pursuit for the ball or pursuit to make the play is what the Lions. It's the step. It's a step level or the next level or the step higher than Chris Pillman's pursuit was. Chris Pillman's pursuit was very passionate and is very. It was tenacious, but it just it was a little slow. I guess the NFL then was a little slower. Players wasn't really as fast, but when you look at a guy like Ray Lewis, and he actually, what's the word I want to say? I don't want to say reinvented, but he more so he revolutionized the middle. I almost said Micah linebacker position. He took it to the next step. So when I envision a linebacker or the leader of the linebacker, the Mike or whatever you want to call it, they used to call him, middle linebacker, whatever. When I look at the guy like that, I look at them to be infectious, tenacious, and their pursuit, it's not violent. It's darn almost impossible to stop. So when I look at Derrick Barnes, I look at a guy who comes in the mode of that. Now he may not be the Lawrence Taylor per se. Now I would give that over to Jamie Collins. Jamie Collins is going to actually play well off of Derrick Barnes. But of course, all that starts off with the point of attack, and the secondary is actually going to benefit. This is where Jeff Okudah is going to rise because he will actually have a front seven. Forgive me, a front four. No, I can say front seven because I don't think they're going to run a 4-3. I think they're going to run a 3-4 as a base. But their front seven: Jeff Okudah, Tracy Walker. I want to say Amari Warrior, and as well as the gentleman that they brought in. I can't think of. I'm drawing a blank to his name. From Syracuse, I believe. They all can benefit, and even the secondary is not complete. I would have loved for them to have drafted Richie Grant or the gentleman from Florida State, the safety from Florida State. But going back to Derrick Barnes, his pursuit is going to be the mentality for the defense. Everybody else up to that point of them drafting a guy like him their approach has been pretty much laid back. It's like we don't hit you first. We will absorb the blow. We would absorb the hit from you, and that will be okay with us. If you look at the defense, from the defensive line to the linebackers to the secondary, no one was really pursuit or a la pursuit like that. I want to say this violent with their pursuit. They was going to be unstoppable. They're going to pursue the ball. I saw a glimpse of that when Jeff Okudah made that tackle, and of course showed the excitement afterwards. I saw that there, but that's coming from a rookie on one play. Outside of that, I didn't see it from anybody. As athletic as Jared Davis was, I didn't see that in him. When I see Derrick Barnes, I see a guy that's going to be actually impactful to the point where is going to build. The defense is actually going to flow off of him. If he will embrace what's finna happen. It's like I go back to the Ben Wallace-esque approach. He may not have had the skill level or the popularity or the talent or whatever as like a Shaquille O'Neal, as a Shaq. However, I would take Ben Wallace over Shaquille O'Neal. Now, as dominant as I don't want to get into that, as dominant as Shaquille O'Neal is, I would take Ben Wallace for a guy who can impact the game without doing anything to consider impactful. Shaq impacts the game being big, right? But you can alter that. Ben Wallace showed proof of that. Just don't be afraid of him. Akeem Olajuwon showed proof of that. Anybody who was impactful toward, I mean, who was effective towards Shaquille O'Neal was actually just wasn't intimidated by him. You may be bigger than me, you may be stronger than me, but mentally, you're not going to get inside my head. Those two guys I look at, and they gave Shaquille O'Neal, in my opinion, fits. So when I look at a guy such as Derrick Barnes, I look at a guy like that. Jamie Collins, Jelani Tavai would benefit off this guy. The Lions, you had Jelani Tavai, you had what's the gentleman name? They let go. Of course, you're talking about Jared Davis. The guy that they brought in last year, Ragnall, and a few others. I thought Ragland was going to be that guy, was going to be that passionate guy, but he came in and followed suit. He came in, he didn't stand out. I don't know if that was controlled by, I don't know if that was the atmosphere that was controlled. I didn't say atmosphere that was controlled, but I don't know if, I don't want to say Patricia, I don't know if his approach like stifled that. Yet and still, I don't think they have had that kind of a passion of pursuit in a linebacker probably since Chris Spielman. I'm not going to say Stephen Tulloch. I'm not going to say, was Ernie Sims? I think it's Ernie Sims. I'm not going to say guys like that. They were decent, but I don't think they were culture changers. Derrick Brown's pursuit, his energy, pursuit, it is synonymous with Penny Sewell, Levi. Their pursuit is similar. It's like, of course, you're talking about going downhill, but it's like reckless. I'm going to blow you up. And I don't think the Lions have, in my history of knowing the Lions, I don't think on their defense side of the ball, maybe Ndamukong Suh, and I think he had it and he toned it down because I don't think he was complimented very well. Well, you got in Clifford Averill, you brought in Nick Fairley, of course you have Vanden Bosch, and you have players like that. Of course, I think they had Sammy Hill and I want to say Corey Williams. You have players like that, but no one complimented the level of pursuit, the power, not just the power, but the point of attack, how Sue approached it. He doesn't approach. It wasn't just skill or just talent or power. It was the level of a Derrick Brooks, of Warren Sapp, of Reggie White. I'm not saying that his play was the same. It was just, I'm coming to get it. His rookie year, I'm coming to get it. And from that point on, it tuned down. And I believe that I think he was disappointed that they didn't build off of his play. They brought in players like when they brought in Nick Fairley. When they brought in, it was a compliment piece, but the attitude or the presence of Nick Fairley wasn't the same as Ndamukong Suh. Ndamukong Suh was, of course, he was about himself. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, if you were to put Ndamukong Suh next to anybody he played against. Of course, you could say Corey Williams, Ndamukong Suh benefit off of Corey Williams. But I'm going to say that when you're talking about Aaron Donald or any, I don't know if he played with Gerald McCoy in Tampa. I don't know if he did. But anybody who played with Suh or next to Suh, they fed off of his approach, his energy. They fed off of that. The Lions didn't complement that when he was here. So I can understand why after his rookie year, he sort of faltered. He went down. And I can say went down at, he played with still, and Patrick still got a double, triple team him and so forth. But he's like, he sort of was tanking out. But Derrick Barnes, going back to that, I guess the point of it is they haven't had a guy like that since Ndamukong Suh. And where you're going downhill and you're just reckless. And you just, there's nothing you're going to do to stop me. I don't think, even as Chris Spielman was a Pro Bowler, when Pro Bowls was actually valuable, I don't think he had that impact. Derrick Barnes, I'm going on a limb. Derrick Barnes, I said it in prior videos, Jeff Okudah, Jelani Tavai, and I want to say Halapalooza Vitae will have their year number 2 will go leaps and bounds based upon I don't want to say the culture change, but the atmosphere of no longer being stifled or longer being held back is out of the way. The Patriots way is effective if you have a visionary. The Patriots way is not effective if you have someone who's complacent with a system. So you have to have, this will make Bill Belichick so good at what he does. And I said it in videos before, Bill Belichick had to reset. So they took a step back. They had to clear out everything that was connected to Tom Brady. Tom Brady was the foundation piece. Tom Brady is the offensive example of what I mean by that fiery pursuit. If you have that on your team, you can beat out talent. You could just the only thing that you have to be able to do is complement that. When Ray Lewis did this thing, they didn't complement that on the offensive side of the ball that well. Defensively, they did. They brought in Ed Reed, and Ed Reed approached it the exact same way as Ray Lewis. That's the perfect complement. Not saying overall statistically, Ed Reed's impact of play. I'm not saying that. I'm saying how he approached the game, how he approached, practice or film study, but on the field, how he approached it like there's nothing you could do to stop me, right? I'm playing this game and I'm playing it hard and I'm playing it fast, whatever. Not playing it hard and playing it fast, but I'm playing it hard and I'm playing it with the pursuit that is uncontainable. And Terrell Suggs was a nice third, along with Haloti Ngata. Those were nice picks, but Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, the team goes as they go. Terrell Suggs, don't get me wrong, Terrell Suggs, he came with that same fiery pursuit too as well. Forgive me, I stand wrong. And even Haloti Ngata, he did as well. He did as well. Of course, but it started off with Ray Lewis. If you don't have Ray Lewis with his fiery pursuit, now we're not talking about his plays that he made. We talk about just the approach of coming into the atmosphere of, I want to say the facility. It's just, he controls the room. He's like a presence. If you have that on the field, and the Lions haven't had that impactful player like that since Ndamukong Suh. The problem with that, they never complemented that with a player who had that same approach. Calvin Johnson, laid back, right? Laid back. And that's the best you have. I'm not going to even put in discussion with Matthew Stafford or or anybody. Matthew Stafford to me was like Nick Fairley. You know, their approach is a compliment piece, but it is not Ndamukong Suh level compliment piece. You know what I'm saying? So when you bring it, say like for example, on the offensive side of the ball, going with the offensive line, when they brought in Penny Sewell and you Taylor Decker, Ragnall are lunch pail going to work type of guys, right? But Ragnall is the guy. He is the guy. He was the guy even before Matthew Stafford left. He was the guy for me for the offense. He was the main guy that you build off of. He's going to bring his lunch pail. He's going to come to work every day, and he's going to impact to a level that you're not going to stop him. Even with that, he doesn't have that fiery pursuit. Don't get me wrong. He's a mauler. He's going to come after you. And I believe a guy like Halapoulivaati Vitae is going to benefit off of that type of guy because that's actually his type of energy. I believe that it was I want to say desensitized, but it was held back by the culture of Patricia. The presence of Patricia was very, it's like I want to say a smoldering type deal. It's like very, it's not, it doesn't let go. And it just it's very controlled. Anyway, Derrick Barnes. Derrick Barnes is going, the gate is there. If he goes through the gate from preseason, from the first snap he plays in preseason, I'm going to see if I see it. His pursuit for it. That will let me know if the culture has changed. Otherwise, he will go back to status quo, which is to go back to being, I don't want to say lethargic, but going back to a place of complacency. And that's why if that's my indication, if this team has changed, if Derrick Barnes, how his play is affected, if his approach and his pursuit, statistics and all that stuff, and I don't care too much about that. I want to see your impact on the field, right? I want to see a defensive coordinator strategizing to take you out to play because you're not just that good, but your presence is that impactful. So if his play is held back to some degree, not by the coaching staff or anything, just by himself, or just being in a position like in Detroit that you can get very comfortable and complacent. With that, it leaves very little room to show effort. That's the culture of the SOL. It stays up under a ceiling. It doesn't surpass the ceiling or rise above or push the ceiling out the way. It stays up under it. He's a guy that is above the ceiling, his impact. And if he plays to that level, and even the Levy, I'm going to get the guy's last name. I still haven't heard it. I want to say Azuzuki. I want to say that. But even him, those first 3 picks, I could say the first 4 picks, maybe the first 5, they all have that intangible. Their pursuit. The D tackles is going to complement. I can see Haloti Ngata in either Pennicini or McNeil. I think this is the gentleman's name. Or Levi Azuzuki. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I'm going to get it. You can see that point of attack with that. That's why I said they're going to run the 3-4. But Derrick Barnes is going to be, I don't know if the term is Mike linebacker, but he's going to be the guy, the play caller. He is going to be that guy. He is going to be that guy. He may not start the gate with it, but he's going to be that guy. They're going to, in other words, even if he's not the play caller per se, his, they're going to build a defense off of his play. And then you're going to see a guy like Jeff Okudah come alive. Jeff Okudah is that kind of guy. But the environment, the secondary environment, or this the defense, the whole culture, the atmosphere was just really held back. It was off of Patricia's attitude or Bob Quinn attitude, which is nothing wrong with it if you are a visionary. If you come into an organization or to a franchise like you own it because of what you have done prior to, you're not much of a visionary. If I may say, players like Jeff Okudah needs to play off of leaders. What I guess maybe the fans or anybody who is griping about the selection of him wanted him to be like an impactful player, like a leader, whatever. He's not that guy. He's a complimentary piece. But at the same time, people see Deion Sanders is not a leader per se, but he's an impactful player. So people want him to be in that mode set or that mindset or that mode of Deion Sanders, particularly if you're getting drafted that high. Yet and still, what you can do with Jeff Okudah, you can surpass a. Okay, say for example, Darius Slay was complimenting what? Glover Quinn, right? But he didn't surpass him. Jeff Okudah would have surpassed Darius Slay. He would have surpassed Glover Quinn. What I mean by that is, if Glover Quinn is going to be the leader of the secondary, he would have been like an Ed Reed to a Ray Lewis, per se, in that aspect. He would have complemented that piece very well. Now, the only thing about, of course, you're talking about the Ravens, they didn't compliment Ed Reed. Well, let me say it this way. I believe how it went. They compliment Ed Reed they compliment Ray Lewis with Ed Reed, but they compliment Terrell Suggs with Ed Reed. But they didn't compliment Terrell Suggs, and they stopped. It stopped. I guess you could say a Lodi Nada. It stopped, though. Okay, all of a sudden, Ogden, the offensive tackle, is sticking out to me on the offensive side of the ball. And I'm looking at Sewell in that direction. The offensive line, I've said it, it was almost I can't harp on enough how well of a job Bob Quinn assembled that defense. I mean the offensive line. In comparison to years past, and I'm going back as far as Lomas Brown and Kevin Glover, and of course Mike Utley and I can't think of the guy's name. The offensive line was terrible. Of course, they had two Pro Bowlers in Kevin Glover and Lomas, but their offensive line was terrible. Then you go off of that and you go to Backus and Raiola, and you go from there to I don't want to say Taylor Decker and so forth, but it has never been what Bob Quinn was able to do. When Jim Caldwell was here, he gave the offensive line veteran leadership. We got Wagner and he brought in TJ Lane. So there's veteran leadership, but however, the atmosphere was below the ceiling or beneath the ceiling. Let's say, you can say it's one and the same. Beneath the ceiling, they didn't have nobody. There was no one on an offensive line that was going to that was a step higher than Wagner or TJ Lane. What the organization was banking off, it was banking off the success that they had prior to other franchise they was a part of from Green Bay or even Baltimore. They was banking off their approach would be the success of that. That's what the Lions fans. I mean, I would say the Lions fans, but I would say that's where when they brought him in as I don't know if it was a Quinn. Quinn brought him in. None that has to go, and because that's a short gap. That's a short little a sample size. They need someone that from as a lad coming in, they need someone to come in is going to be their pursuit is going to go uphill. It's going no, forgive me, not uphill. It's going to continue to climb up the charts. So when they found Frank Ragnall, that cemented the whole offensive line. I said that from not day one because I didn't recognize who they had when they drafted him. I didn't when they drafted him as a center and they moved him to guard. But I believe that was necessary based upon the lack of visionary or the lack of vision. I will say that, or not being a visionary. You're trying to, how can I say it? You're trying to complement something you don't have. So it's like you I don't want to say overcompensate, or you just overdo it. And so that's why the best move they did was move him to center. Because now you can have somebody who could play. They drafted someone who could actually play the position that he was fulfilling. So, but he was a better fit at guard at the time. I don't know who was playing center. Was it Glasgow? It was a better fit that way. But anyway, Frank Ragnall, the job that Bob Quinn did with Frank Ragnall. I think he found him at the 20th pick in the first round. Well, of course, Decker he brought in before. Decker had he had a good rookie year. Then he had a down year, and the fans wanted him out of here because he didn't play to the level that he played as a rookie. But that goes all to culture fit. If the atmosphere of the facility is held back, controlled in a way that is not innovative, that is not creative, you're going to be complacent. You're going to be content. You're going to get comfortable, and you're going to want out because it becomes stale and dry, and it's pretty much left for dead. And that's what happened. That is the mantra of the SOL. That's the emphasis, the point of emphasis of that slogan or whatever that labeling is stiflement. There's no electricity. It's dry. It's dead. That's SOL. So when I hear that statement, SOL, I look to see that and what part of the team I'm looking to see that. If it's on the defense, if it's on the special team, if it's on the offense, I'm looking to see that dryness. But in most cases, it comes from the head coach. As impactful or the development or even culture changing as a change, let's say that way, as a culture change, as Jim Caldwell was, or even as fiery as a Jim Schwartz was, they still had that. They would hit a wall. They didn't. As much experience as Jim Caldwell had, he wasn't a visionary. He was a developer of temperament. He would give you stability. But Jim Schwartz, he wasn't innovative. So I'm looking for Dan Campbell and his staff to be innovative. Otherwise, you're going to be SOL. You're gonna go back to being dry. You're gonna go back to being stale. And all the players that you brought in is actually fiery, or their pursuit is actually past the ceiling. You're gonna hold them back, and that will be the mantra, the SOL mantra, well deserved. So it's SOL until I see a guy like Derrick Barnes, Penny Sewell, and I'm going to go on the line and saying that the defensive tackle they brought in, Levi Awazuki, Awazuki. I want to say that's his last name, but I'm going to get it. Anyway, they're going to be the tone setters of this team. With that being said, Lions fans, oh, before I go, I said on record they're going to be 8-8, but that's before I knew that the season was going to go to 17 games. So they would be. I'm going to say 8-9, maybe 9-8. They may go that direction, but it's going to be middle of the pack. But look at the Lions going to be how the Baltimore Ravens was. Not Tampa Bay with Warren Sapp and Derrick Brooks. But when they drafted Ray Lewis and Jamal Lewis, and they started building off of that. But the offense, you don't know too much about the offense. Even when Steve Smith, as impactful Steve Smith was, the offense was, their best years was behind Jamal Williams, from my understanding. No, for Jamal Williams, Jamal Lewis. Their best offense was behind that. But that was based off their head coach, Brian Billick. He was like, he was innovative. He was content, and he was sort of like Patricia in that way. Had a system, ran it, and you go that way. It wasn't pretty much electrifying, So, but the team went as Ray Lewis went. It didn't go as Jamal went, even though I think he got 2,000 yards one year. If not, he did pretty well one year. I don't know. I don't know. I could be wrong. But I look at the Lions offense to be in that mode of the Baltimore Ravens with Jamal Williams. Jamal Lewis. Why can't you say Jamal Lewis? I mean Jamal Williams. It's Jamal Lewis. I look at their offense to be similar to that, but their defense is to be similar to the Baltimore Ravens. I as much as I could say the Giants, Parcells Giants, or even Peyton's Saints has impact towards this team. I'm looking at the Baltimore Ravens as the Lions' actual template. They're not going to, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say they're going to take on their scheme or try to take on their culture or try to do anything like them. Sort of like what they was trying to do with the West Coast, or they try to do with all these other different Tampas and, Tampa 2s. And no, I'm not saying they're going to do anything like Baltimore was doing it, but their base of their team is good. It's like a blueprint of that. Penny Sewell, I want to say, what was his Ogden first name? Jeff Ogden? I can't think of his first name. But Ogden, yeah, I can see that. This team is going to be pretty much, in my vision, it's going to be built off of that. They still don't have that Ed Reed that can go not from sideline to sideline. His play is just a step faster than the quarterback. I don't know if they have that on their defense yet. I mean, their secondary yet. I don't know. It could be the new guy that they brought in from Syracuse. I don't know much about him. I'm going to look at some tape on him and see. And that will be my part 2 to this segment. But this is I don't want to call it the culture change, but I will say the Lions is shifting in a pursuit. Their culture is changing in the way they pursue. Guys, we're gonna call it culture change. All right, Lions fans, salute.